What's up? I'm Deontay Lawson, and you're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
This is what being a NASCAR fan is all about. Singular history and tradition.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. This is so special.
Unmatched on-track intensity.
We gotta go.
And triple-header playoffs action to ratchet up the stakes. Throw in a can't-miss concert, camping, and the legendary atmosphere of Talladega Boulevard. And you've got more than a race. You've got Talladega. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover here with you in Tuscaloosa, where it's game week, and we are just 2 days away from Alabama starting the 2024 season of Crimson Tide football. Busy show to get you ready for the Western Kentucky game. We'll go through what's coming up on the show, plus our headlines. Thanks to our friends at RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us a smart board to go through everything in an interactive way, especially when we get to our Champions Lane map coming up in a moment. First things first on the show, we'll be visiting with a member of the Crimson Tide football team in a one-on-one conversation, Tim Smith, as part of our Countdown Fall Camp with the Crimson Tide presented by Poetry Financial podcast. Great conversation with Tim, one of the funniest members of the team, as we found out throughout the course of our interview. Great conversation with him, followed by somebody that was in a similar role to Tim Smith just 10 years ago. Well, maybe a little bit more. Don't tell him I said that. Damion Square, our new sideline reporter for the Crimson Tide Sports Network. He's our legend of the week, as we wanted to catch up with him before he joins us on the radio, making his debut coming up on Saturday. Making her debut at Bryant-Denny Stadium will be Taylor McGregor of ESPN, the sideline reporter for the crew that'll be calling the game on television. So a great opportunity to get to know Taylor, get her thoughts on the Tide and the Hilltoppers. Speaking of those Hilltoppers from Western Kentucky, their broadcaster Randy Lee will join us for the other booth, presented by Marathon, giving us a good breakdown of everything from Tyson Hilton's team this year. Then we'll close things out the way we closed out last night's edition of Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show. We'll get the final word, not just from Kalen DeBoer, but also, how about Jalen Milroe giving a final thought or two to the Crimson Tide fans. Love seeing that, love being back at Baumhauer's last night. Crimson Tide football, here we go. The season begins against Western Kentucky. We talk about it all offseason. It's been a long time since January 1st when the Rose Bowl ended in a Michigan win, but now here we are. It's Alabama against Western Kentucky. Everything coming up at 6 p.m., of course, with the kickoff, and then 3 o'clock, our airtime on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, and we'll be starting the show outside at Vector Security Champions Lane. More on that in a moment. Typically, we've enjoyed the home opener, or just the opener in general. Alabama has won 22 straight season opening games, so a great streak. Alabama never lost in the Saban era in the season opener. Hopefully, Kalen DeBoer can go 1-0. That's his whole mindset. He's hoping to go 1-0 with the Crimson Tide coming up on Saturday, as Alabama is preseason number 5 team ranked in the AP poll. Some other notes around Alabama athletics, starting with soccer and volleyball. Busy weekend for both, and especially a busy weekend here on campus in Tuscaloosa. Tonight it'll be the soccer team back in action against Florida Atlantic. Last time out on Sunday, we saw a great victory for the Crimson Tide, a 4-0 win against Tennessee Chattanooga in a game that featured a brace for Gianna Paul. So tonight, Alabama against FAU, and then coming up on Sunday, they'll be back as well under the lights at 6 p.m. against Southern Miss, and what's always a great pre-conference schedule matchup. Alabama and Southern Miss have had some tremendous matches over the last few years. The volleyball team, the Rashinda Reed, was with us last night on Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show. Her team will hit the floor at Foster Auditorium coming up tomorrow. It'll be Grambling State, the Citadel, and then UT Martin in the afternoon on Saturday. So a great way to cheer on the Crimson Tide in volleyball before you make your way to Champions Lane and then Bryant-Denny Stadium. Speaking of Champions Lane, here is the map. It is back for this season. All of this is available online. You can check it out, all details, RolledTide.com, and also our game day page. There are so many ways you can have this map be ready to go for what's coming up on Saturday at Vector Security Champions Lane. I want to point out a couple things on the map. First of all, you see the Tuska statue right at the corner of University Boulevard and Wallace Wade Avenue. Here is the Bud Light backyard. That stage is going to be set up, and that is where we'll have our radio coverage coverage start at 3 o'clock. But also on that stage, you're going to enjoy the music coming up from Head Games, a Foreigner tribute band. They will take the stage, first of all, at 1:30, and then they'll play until 2:45, and then they'll have a little bit of break so us radio guys can talk Alabama football, but then they'll be back on the stage coming up at 4 o'clock, playing right up until 5:15, so we really look forward to that. And of course, the Walk of Champions team will arrive at 2:30, so a chance to watch us on stage, go to the Walk of Champions, then come back for the rest of our pregame coverage outside, and then Foreigners. So we're looking forward to that coming up at the Bud Light backyard. Then, of course, the Legends Lounge Beer Garden. Never a cover charge there. That is right there. Perfect spot to see everything going on. Not only the stage, but also these huge video boards showing all the games around college football. Definitely interested in Clemson, Georgia. How about Florida against Miami? That's going to be going at that time. And then later on, Notre Dame against Texas A&M. Some huge matchups coming up. And you can have fun. You can tailgate the Alabama game with us at Vector Security Champions Lane and watch those games in action. We'll have some food trucks available thanks to Billy's Hot Dogs and Texas Roadhouse. Autographs being signed as well. We look forward to that thanks to our friends at the Alabama Department of Public Health. From 2:30 to 3, we'll be joined by members of the softball team, and then from 3:30 to 4:35, the Alabama soccer team will be there as well. So much going on. Again, a couple entrances right on University Boulevard. Also here, you can exit to the stadium. This is the place to be. This is the one place you want to be coming up on game day. It's always free to the public. We hope that you enjoy another year at Vector Security Champions Lane. Huge hit last season, now back and improved coming up for this year. I mentioned the concert. We're going to have Head Games get us going on Saturday, but they are just the first of what is an absolutely stacked concert series coming up this season. Next week we'll have Smith Distillery in town, and then in a few weeks we'll have Lauren Elena. She'll be performing with David Lewis. You see Lauren coming up. She'll be for the Georgia game coming up on September 28th. Later on in the season, Easton Corbin will be along on the 26th. Jake Matthew, Smith Distillery again coming up for the Mercer game, and then Jake Matthew coming up for the Iron Bowl. So again, there's so many great concert guests that we're going to have. Vector Security Champions Lane is the place to be to get ready and cheer on the Crimson Tide on game days. One of the players you're going to be cheering on the most this year is Tim Smith, defensive lineman who's back for his 5th year leading this Crimson Tide football team. He joins us now on the Countdown Fall Camp with the Crimson Tide podcast presented by Poetry Financial.
Blue can say go, and I just run through a wall. Like that's the type of energy and aura the man has about himself.
Roll Tide and welcome back to Bryant-Denny Stadium. We're inside the Advantage Center at our podcast studio. I'm Roger Hoover, now pleased to be joined by Alabama football defensive lineman Tim Smith as we go inside the episode of Countdown Fall Camp with the Crimson Tide presented by Poetry Financial. And Tim Smith, game week is here. You ready to go?
Absolutely. Yeah, man, I'm tired of being up on my guys. You know what I'm saying? Actually excited to see them beat up on somebody else so I can cheer them on. But, yeah, man, I'm ready for August 31st. What, 6:05? Yeah, we right into it.
And be ready to go. We always hear iron sharpens iron. Who on the offensive line has made you better getting ready for this year?
Definitely that middle three. I'll say our whole offensive line because all of them are competing. I feel like it's more of a pride thing. Like we just got done speaking about. I'm a 5th year senior, so a lot of those guys are young, and it's like I can't keep letting this old head beat me. But at the same time, I got the mindset I ain't finna let this young dude beat me. So it's like everybody really sharpening each other. Like in that first shot that I gave, that interior 3, Parker, quick, fast, and strong. And then, we got Big Jane and Big Book on both sides. So, hey, man, it's a struggle. It's a battle for sure.
You still getting the backfield some, though?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's mandatory.
So you got to be ready now. I mean, not only just to hit somebody else for another opponent like Western Kentucky, but also take aim at those quarterbacks, right? No longer you see the black jerseys.
Mm-hmm. So that's definitely something they've been emphasizing on us this fall, spring, since they were from the QBs. And it's like, it's kind of difficult because sometimes you can't get, like today's going to just go, because like they tell us, not the quarterback, but you have to still practice pursuing the quarterback. You get what I'm saying? Not just get back in the backfield free and then just run somewhere else. Like, you still got to put yourself through the motions of, okay, I got to make sure I'm visualizing myself attacking the quarterback. If he got his arm up, put a hand up, match the ball, or either bat it, get a fumble. So, like, those things we still got to take into account of not just, okay, this is practice, but, that's something we got to pick up on the first game, too. Make sure he don't get away.
Absolutely. No room to run. For you, you mentioned you are a fifth-year senior with the Crimson Tide, so you went through 4 fall camps with Coach Saban. Now this is your first one with Coach DeBoer. What's a little different about Coach DeBoer and how he organizes fall camp?
I'll say the practices for one. This is my first year that I've actually had a morning practice. We joke all the time because I used to see memes about schools practicing early in the morning at 6:30, all that, and now I'm part of one of those schools. But at the same time, like I kind of like it, or not kind of, I love it. You know what I'm saying? To be able to get up, the first thing on your mind, like, okay, how am I gonna get better today? Or like just the process of being locked there from the time I wake up to the time that practice is over with. So it's like I kind of enjoy that more. You know what I'm saying? Going to get it out the way, and then I have the rest of the day to chill, evaluate film with my guys, my D-line, making sure they understand everything that they just did or something they're confused on. I feel like it gives us more time to grow and be better as a team. So I like the morning practices a lot more.
Now, what do you like about this position group? I mean, how competitive are you guys with each other?
Very. It don't matter what we doing. We can be during individual drills. Freddie Roach has this little drill, quick hands to see, quick hands grab the bag to see who, it's a drill for quick hands because we are defensive linemen. So, like, we have one of our little GAs in the middle with the football moving the stick, and, like, we'll push Roach behind to the side, be like, hey, watch out, Roach. Hey, we finna compete real quick. And it's literally just, who got the fastest hands? Let's see who can grab this bag fast. So a lot of everything with us is competition. If somebody does a pass rush drill on the bag, little Stanley or Brutus, the bags that we have out there, like the next person up, we're going to try to make sure our rep looks better than yours. And I might talk trash to you, I might not, but I'm going to let you know my rep look better. So, like, we try to compete in everything. If it's a double team during team one, like, I'm going to make sure my double team look better than yours. And it's like eventually, like, some people it's gonna click for some people. Like, hey man, like, I know you a good player, but I'm a great player too. Like, I can show you that my film look better than yours. So that's what I love about my D-line group. Like, everybody's still competing. Like, everybody definitely still learning, even though myself. But that's one thing I love about my group. We compete with everything that we do.
How much do you enjoy playing for Coach Roach?
I love it, man. The dude, he's literally a big kid, man. But I love everything about him. He definitely has a way of reaching and talking to each and every one of us. Like, I know a lot of guys ask me about Roach, being that he's one of the coaches that stayed. And it's just one thing that I tell everybody is that, like, one of his best traits as a coach is he understands each and every one of his D-linemen. I think it's about 13, 14 of us. And he knows how to talk to each and every one of us. Like, he could come yell at me, like, hey, don't do that no more. Like, get your hands inside, play that gap right. We just did this individual. I swear to God, I won't mess it up that same play. I won't mess it up the rest of practice. But there's some guys, like, you know, it's like you can go speak to or get on, then they may react in a different way or not respond as well. So it's like he understands each and every one of us in order to talk and coach us through things that we need to understand.
So he's back for this year, but there is a new defensive coordinator in Coach Womack who comes in after being a head coach at South Alabama. What have you liked about getting to know him and also the role that your position is going to play in his defense?
I love Womack. He came in with the juice off rip. He wasn't really scared or iffy about implementing some of his own things that he felt like Alabama needed. One of our things right now is Swarm D. I don't know if you guys been hearing about it. But yeah, man, we'll get ready to go out there, practice, ready to break, Swarm D, and we swarm the field, ready to go attack, all 11 hats at the ball. And that's something I loved as soon as he brought in, because it's like, that's something I did at high school. My high school coaches did. So it's like, it kind of just brought back deja vu of everybody just being maniac running to the ball. But now we actually got a little swag slogan to go with it. And then as far like he said, a lot of the calls and the stuff that he's changed with the defense, it gives the D lineman a little more leeway to get a little more production in. And he's very confident in what he calls and what he does. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have a problem with discussing or getting down and dirty with you too. Like, he'll come over there and mess with us sometimes. Like, he'll come to the D-line room, and then it's like, or over there during individual, and he'll just give us some certain pointers or tips, not necessarily like technique stuff that Roach would be teaching us, but understanding the grasp of or the scheme. Like, this is how I need you to fit within this gap. Like, the technique stuff, I'm gonna leave to Roach. You know what I'm saying? But like, this is how I need you to fit in this gap for the defense. This is how I need it to play out. But yeah, I love Womack. He's a cool dude, man.
Can you guys believe that he's wearing the hoodie each and every day at practice? And we know it's not the Alabama heat in the afternoon, but it's still pretty hot in the morning here.
Yeah, your guess good as mine. Because if you see what I wear to practice, I try to have the least amount of clothes on as possible. Like it is, but I mean, I guess that's part of his routine or whatever he likes to do. Hey man, if you need to sweat some more, do it. I sweat enough. But that's his attire.
Summer weight loss program, I guess, right?
That's his plan.
Well, speaking of that, along those lines, one coach you've been with throughout all your time at Alabama has been in the weight room, Coach Ballou. How much did he get you guys ready to go for what you've been through in fall camp?
Other than God, I say he plays a huge factor in all of that, because that's, you know what I'm saying, majority of who we spend all of our time with is Ballou. I just love seeing that the fact that Ballou, I ain't gonna say he just come out his shell, but like seeing Ballou from that freshman year, 2020 to now, how he operates with us, how he talks with us, how he interacts with us, I love everything about it. And it's like even the old dudes, he ain't got no problem with cussing you behind out, because you been here the longest and you know what they expect. You know what to do from us. So it's like, I love that about him. He don't care who you is. If you wrong, you're not doing what this team is supposed to do or what we're about, he will correct it, and that's that. But yeah, Ballou has been a major factor for us, like all the 4 years that I've been here. As far as motivation, he definitely has that. It's the workouts, the competitiveness, the speeches. Like Ballou can say go, and I just run through a wall. Like that's the type of energy and aura the man has about himself. But I love everything about Ballou, man. It's just, I just find it funny to see him. Because, like, you know, we made jokes, we laughed. Like I said, that's part of, like, what I love to see about Ballou stepping out of his shell from, like, that first year. Because everybody, like, as you are a rookie, you know, you skeptical. You ain't want to talk to nobody, none of that. Ballou is kind of the same way. Like, he's a new strength coach here. He's trying to figure out, how do I relate to these guys? How do I talk to them? But even then, like, he was still showing his assertiveness. Like, I know I'm new, but this is the program. This is what we're going to get into. Like, this is what we finna get active. We finna get ahead, get bumpy, lift these weights, and that's that. And I'll see our guys tomorrow. Like, you feel me? He keep it simple, short, and sweet, man. That's all it is.
How cool is all the new technology that's in that weight room? I mean, the way that you guys are able to track everything.
So I'm going to go over here and talk trash to him, like, hey, I bet my first set I get higher than yours. Like, we just be in there talking trash to each other, but it helps us compete as well. Now, as far as like the whole science part about it, I don't
know if you
don't
know
know
more than
any of
10 or
them.
Jamarian, yeah, exactly.
You better know it. So like,
Yeah.
I know they have their different sciences, how to break it down, like different meanings behind it, like when they go upstairs. But as far as like the basis for us is our power number, our speed number, see how fast we can move the weight, all that. So it's like, that's what we compete in. Like, we may have the same exact weight, but shoot, I'm moving it faster than you are, or I may have more weight than you, and I'm still moving it faster than you are. So it's like, a lot of that, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's just another competing edge. Like, a lot of guys got to pay attention to that.
That's really good to see. So now all the hard work, fall camp done, game week preparation, you're ready to go for Saturday against Western Kentucky. What do you love most about game day, especially here in Tuscaloosa?
The fans. That's really what I like to see. It can be overwhelming, but you know, we're on the buses and everything. So, but I love to see the fact that the fans are actually this excited to see us play. Some of them may not know all of us, our names or whatever, but like the support system, to not even be able to hear your music and you got headphones in and like you're walking down the Walk of Champs, like that is amazing. I love to be able to hear that, walking down that tunnel, seeing everybody in the stands shaking their pom-poms. But like, it's a different POV for me, because like, I would love to see how they interact and engage with us and how much passion they have for us. But then it's like, hey man, I got to do my job so they can keep cheering for us. But I love everything about game day here down in Bryant-Denny, other than the traffic after the game. Other than that,
I get caught in it sometimes?
Man, and you would think that like, we're parked at the facility, Malmore, like you may be able to get over here across this bridge. You're going to be stuck there for about 40 minutes, bro.
Come hang with me on the post-game show then on radio, yeah. We'll clear out of
Just
that.
call me and I'll be able to do a whole hour interview with you sitting in the car just trying to get to my apartment.
That sounds good. As we wrap things up, just pure and simple, what is this defense going to be known for this year?
In my opinion, turnovers. Because I'm not going to lie, our defense has been on one this fall and spring. Even with Womack being new and us trying to understand everything, it's not even so much the scheme. It's just like our mindset as a defensive whole. Like I just got done mentioning Swarm D. Like everybody want that pill, I mean, I don't want to put it as I don't want to put my perspective on everybody else, but it's like, you know, in football, the whole pictures and the video, like they really are only recording the dude who gets the ball. You know what I'm saying? He getting the most recognition. So as a defensive player to go get that rock, man, that's all you're gonna see all season. Interception, forced fumbles, fumble recovery. Defense gonna have the ball all year.
We look forward to that. We look forward to number 50 having the ball for the Crimson Tide. Tim Smith, thank you for all the time. Best of luck with everything that's coming up, and roll Tide. Alabama racing is back. Don't miss the opportunity to experience the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs at Talladega. Witness the return of racing on October 6th and also be part of NASCAR's biggest and baddest track. From the blistering speed on the track to the unparalleled fan access of the Talladega Garage experience, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Tickets are on sale now. Secure your seats today for the Yellowwood 500 at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
So Tim Smith stars now for the Alabama Crimson Tide, but just over a decade ago, it was Damion Square bringing the heat in more ways than one for this Crimson Tide football team, as he was a captain of the national championship team in 2012. Overall, he won 3 national championships during his playing days at Alabama before playing in the NFL, and Damion Square has now got a new team. He's part of the Crimson Tide Sports Network. He'll be our sideline reporter coming up for Alabama against Western Kentucky and with us on the radio all season long. So for our first Alabama Legends interview of the year, we wanted to visit with Alabama legend and now the newest member of our team, Damion Square.
Roll Tide and welcome back to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Now, please be joined by the newest member of the team on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. It is former Alabama defensive lineman and captain Damion Square, who joins us as our sideline analyst. And Damion, let me be the first on the air to welcome you to the team. Roll Tide, man. Great to see you.
Thank you, man. I am so excited to be a part of this thing, man. Words cannot explain how fortunate I am to be here in this new era, to get a sideline view of what's going on and what's to come in Tuscaloosa, man. Everybody's curious. So for me to be so close and, be able to, talk to the fans and report back to the people who are, somewhat curious about how this next era is going to be, man, I cannot wait. I am so excited. I thought I was going to have to lose my mind watching it from my couch and screaming through the TV, but now I can actually be on the sideline and just drop a buzz on the sideline to let them know how I feel about the situation, man. It's going to be so, so good.
It really is. We're glad you're part of the team along with Chris Stewart and Tyler Watts. What do you hope to bring to our fans on the radio this year?
My experience from playing ball, you know what I mean? Just understanding the game, giving, a good analogy of what I see, like I said, man, just bringing excitement, passion. I love football. I was raised on ESPN. You know what I mean? I was raised watching the Dallas Cowboys growing up. And then obviously, I spent my time in Tuscaloosa, which made me fall in love with football even more, man. So I'm just excited to be a part. I know what Alabama football brings. I know what type of environment it is, man. So I'm not going to, make any future judgments or anything, man. I'm just going to take it for what it is. And every Saturday I show up, man, I'm just going to be that genuine, and I'm going to give you guys a genuine report of what I see and the passion that I have for this football program.
We look forward to it. Let's go back just a little bit. You mentioned you're growing up watching ESPN, watching the Dallas Cowboys. You're from Texas. How did Alabama get on your radar in the recruiting process? What made you sign, first of all, with the Tide?
Well, I had a little connection, man. I had the guy that coached me in high school. He was from Lake Charles, Louisiana, and he was a LSU guy. He was a big LSU fan. I don't think he had the opportunity to play a big D1 football, but he was an LSU fan at the time that Nick Saban was in Baton Rouge, and Bo Davis and him were really good friends, man. And at the time, Bo Davis was the defensive line coach at Alabama. I had just been learning some of the same things, playing in the same system. So it just made a lot of sense for me in my life to continue to do some of the things that I had already been trained to do. So that's how Alabama showed up, in my recruiting process. And then I fell in love with it, once I got on campus and, just kind of got entangled into all the pride and the championships and just the passion that those people have for that program in that state, man. I bleed crimson now, man. It's sort of sickening, how passionate I am I went there to play football. I didn't think I would turn out to be like this. You know what I mean, man? I find myself sick sometimes when we don't receive the results we want on Saturdays, man. So I've definitely turned into, one of those people that I met when I first got there.
Does that translate to other sports too? I mean, how fired up were you for the basketball team in March Madness last year?
Everything, man. Everything, man. I find myself looking into golf, swimming. Dude, I'm just crimson everything, man. It's a true passion. Of course I have other things that I'm passionate about in my life, man, but I can tell you, man, it is kind of uncontrollable, when it comes to the Crimson Tide, man. It's a little bit bigger than me. My passion for that football team and then that whole university, man, and what they did for me, my family, my wife, kids. I mean, I just can't. I can keep, letting you know the things that the university did for me, man. So yeah, it's definitely bigger than me.
Well, you did a lot for the university. You get to be part of 3 national championship teams during your time at Alabama. The first one in the Saban era in '09, and then backed it up with the back-to-back titles in 2011 and 2012. Just what made that time so special for you, and what'd you guys do to get Alabama to that #1 spot in college football?
I mean, at that time, and I don't even know if we knew what we were doing. You know what I mean? We were just guys that were brought, were buying into Coach Saban's system. And then, just our commitment and then the passion that the program already had. I think that met up. I think the people in Tuscaloosa always had passion for their program. I think they always had great expectations and great intentions for their program. And it didn't meet up all the time if it came to like, coaching hiring or recruiting and things like that. And I think in 2008, man, all of that stuff just came together, dude. Nick leaving the NFL, not having too much success there, which is, like I said, unfortunate for him, but fortunate for Alabama, for him to come down and want some simplicity in his life and get out of the limelight a little bit, and come and deal with kids. And we were prepared, man. Julio, Marcel Darius, Terrence Cody. I mean, just to name a few, man. And when we brought our passion and our expectations, and he had a chip on his shoulder, trying to prove his legacy and trying to continue, what he left off with at LSU. I think when all of that stuff came together at the right time, and it created what we have today, which is a dynasty that is really, really hard to stop.
Certainly is. And of course, the news that you were joining us on the radio started to go around social media earlier in the week. And of course, your name still pops up on social media nearly every Bama game day because of some pregame speeches that we've seen kind of leaked from the locker room. Not too many speeches get leaked. There's only a couple of Coach Saban speeches out there, but you have one of the most fired up speeches we've ever seen. Do you have fun knowing that Alabama fans still watch that on game days and get themselves hyped up for the game like you were trying to hype up your teammates?
As you can see with the smile on my face, I love, that people know about that, because when you're playing ball and you have these moments that your teammates know about, you think that it's only going to stay, within those realms, and it won't, break that barrier. But, for this video to get out and, go viral, man, is, one, it's always good for me and my brand, of course, for people to see my face attached to this beautiful brand that's on my hat here. So fortunate to be a part of that, and when I first got there, I admired all those things. Like, I would go to the board or the little screen upstairs, and I would watch the videos of the 1992 national championship, or different coaches speaking to the team before the games, because that's how the football facility used to be set up. You used to go to those video boards and look at those things. So to know that I have, something that'll be on those boards probably until the end of time, when I'm not here, when my kids aren't here, is just amazing, man. I never thought, that it would come, without winning a championship or something like that. Just a moment that I had in the locker room, being passionate with my teammates, man, to know that will live on forever. It does touches my soul. And like I said, to be a part of a brand like Alabama, man, it just adds, the icing on the cake, man. That was just a true passionate moment. We were playing against LSU. LSU was definitely our threshold at the time. That was a team that if we beat them, we pretty much was gonna play for championships, whether we played them again or not. You know what I mean? But like at that time, they were the team to beat. You know, they were recruiting at a high level. We were recruiting at a high level, and that's the type of passion that we needed to beat those guys at that time.
We need that kind of passion on the radio too. Maybe even before we leave the stage of Vector Security Champions Lane, you can give the fans a hype speech every week. That'd be a lot of fun.
And you'll get it out of me depending on how close the game is.
That's certainly good. Looking at this team, obviously a lot has changed. Coach Saban retires. Kalen DeBoer comes in. Kane Womack takes over as the defensive coordinator. Just what are your expectations for this group, especially looking at this first game on Saturday?
I just want to see if they're communicating. You know what I mean? I think communication, whenever it comes to any team thing, the more characters you add, right? You got basketball, you got 5 guys on the court. You got football, you got 11 guys on the field. So whenever you add people, communication has to go up. And communication has to be efficient because it has to travel fast. So I think that I just want to see these guys communicating, you know, because that is culture. You know what I mean? Confidence and things like that. So I was thinking about this right before I gave you a call and also yesterday, you know, so what's some of the things that will be satisfying to me leaving, you know, this game on Saturday? And that's it. Communication, execution, communication about mistakes so that they won't happen anymore. Because as this season goes on, communication wins games. You know what I mean? You got these guys are physical specimens. They're some of the top recruits in the country. It's going to come down to, are they in the right place at the right time? And that has a lot to do with, you know, how much time you spend with a guy off the field. Do you guys communicate? Do you know how you talk? Do you know what he means when he says these certain things? You know what I mean? Do you know this guy emotional state? Do you know how he responds to failure? You know, so when I'm on the sideline, you know, besides doing the radio, that's what my eyes will be looking for. Seeing if guys are comfortable enough to correct guys' failures, communicate with them, and, you know, get the standard back where it needs to be so that they can go out on the field and execute the next time. I feel like if Alabama do that, they'll be hard to beat by anybody because they have the guys.
Absolutely, they do. So we're looking forward to Saturday, Alabama against Western Kentucky, the start of the Kalen DeBoer era and the start of the Damion Square era on the radio on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Damion, thank you so much for your time with us this week on Crimson Drive. Safe travels to Tuscaloosa. We look forward to seeing you Saturday. Roll Tide, man.
Roll Tide.
This is what being a NASCAR fan is all about.
Gets the win at Talladega.
Singular history and tradition. And triple-header playoffs action to ratchet up the stakes. Get your tickets now at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Well, Damion Square won't be the only one on the sidelines working coming up on Saturday for Alabama against Western Kentucky. We'll also be seeing Taylor McGregor. She works for ESPN, sideline reporter that'll be on the call with Dave Pasch and Dusty Dvorak on ESPN for Alabama's first game of the year. This is her first assignment at Bryant-Denny Stadium. She's certainly excited, and we're glad she can join us this week on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, to preview Alabama against Western Kentucky.
Welcome back to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover in Tuscaloosa. Now, please be joined by the ESPN sideline reporter for Alabama's game against Western Kentucky. It is Taylor McGregor, who is also the sideline reporter for the Chicago Cubs. She joins us now from Pittsburgh as she gets ready for this Saturday. And Taylor, let me be the first to say, Roll Tide. How's everything going?
Well, I think I'm going to say Legitsburg, because sometimes that's how I refer to Pittsburgh. This place is better than people give it credit for. But no, super happy to hear Roll Tide, because that means we're nearing football season. You know, this is week 1 and my first trip to Tuscaloosa to experience a football game. I have been there before, but this will be my first football game, and I could not be more excited.
Well, you get to interview Kalen DeBoer as the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide, not Nick Saban. So your first television reporter that Coach DeBoer will talk to pregame or at halftime, postgame. How excited are you for what he's bringing to this Alabama program?
I'm a little less intimidated by Kalen DeBoer than I am Nick Saban. But I'm so excited to showcase who Kalen DeBoer is to, you know, the entire Alabama fan base across the country. I feel like in a sense, we're introducing Kalen DeBoer to a large audience. And I think it's really awesome. I mean, you just think about 10 years ago, plus when Nick Saban was taking over this Alabama's program, where Kalen DeBoer was in his career, and he was still back in South Dakota. And, you know, to just reminisce on his kind of upbringing through the coaching ranks has been really, really fun. And to see how much success he's experienced relatively early in his career as a head coach is awesome. So I have high hopes for him at Alabama. And I know the Alabama fan base does as well, because of the consistent winning that this fan base has experienced over the last decade plus.
What else have you learned in your research getting ready for Saturday that excites you about the Crimson Tide? Any stories you can't wait to share?
Well, I think there's just so much to dive into when it comes to Alabama. I mean, what impact will Kalen DeBoer bring when it comes to this offense? You know, you look at the two quarterbacks that led the country in passing a year ago, and it was Austin Reed and Michael Penix Jr., which was Western Kentucky and Washington. Now the two coaches coaching in this game on Saturday. And then I think Alabama, they struggled giving up sacks a year ago. Washington did not. And now you have Kalen DeBoer and, you know, a new coaching staff to maybe correct some of the things, new personnel on the line of scrimmage as well. That's something I'm going to pay attention to. Of course, Jalen Milroe is the biggest story, I think, for anybody. I mean, around college football, in order to be a successful team, you have to have a successful quarterback. So rightfully so that everybody pays attention to the quarterback. But I think with Jalen, we saw him make those explosive plays, and he can be incredibly dynamic with his legs, but how will he handle the intermediate passing game? That's what everybody wants to know. That's what I want to know. And that's what Kalen DeBoer's offense really entailed last year, was that intermediate passing game to then set up those explosive plays for Michael Penix Jr. So how will Milroe handle this new offense? How will they utilize his legs? How will they utilize the tight ends? I mean, there's just such a long list of stories that I'm really interested in. I think on the defensive side of the ball, a lot of youth in the secondary, a lot of new faces overall. So, you know, how will they handle a TJ Finley, who, again, look, this Western Kentucky team is not a Georgia or a Power 5 team, but they're still picked to finish second in Conference USA. They can put up a lot of points. And so how will this young secondary handle a dynamic passing game in Western Kentucky? I think it's going to be an interesting test very early in the season. So those are kind of some of the things that I'll be paying attention to. And the list is really long for sure.
And you mentioned on the other sideline, Western Kentucky, a really dynamic team. Like you mentioned, the passing game, but they won 8 games a year ago. Tyson Helton's pretty firmly established in Bowling Green. What have you learned so far about the Hilltoppers?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is I think everybody, when they heard that TJ Finley was transferring there, you thought, oh, he's automatically QB1. But I think there was a little bit more of a quarterback battle than people expected. So do we see more than TJ Finley on Saturday? We'll see. You know, a lot of new faces. I mean, this is nothing new with college football and the transfer portal. Like a lot of teams go through massive turnover year in and year out. But can they sustain who they were a year ago? And that was a really good, you know, non-Power 5, Power 4, however you want to say it, team. And can they continue the offensive explosion with the new quarterback? Some of the skilled players are gone from last year. How much will they run the ball? You know, they have a transfer in Elijah Young, who came over from Mizzou. Last year was his first year at Western Kentucky. So he's played in the SEC. You know, he's a talent. How much will they run the ball with him? He kind of took on a bulk of the load a year ago. So I think one thing you know for sure is they're going to score points. How much can they score against Alabama? We'll see. But they're certainly a team that's established themselves in Conference USA.
Your first assignment of the year in college football season, you get to come here to Tuscaloosa to Bryant-Denny Stadium. How much do you love the environments and getting to share the energy and the excitement of the fan base at a place like Alabama and bring that to television?
I mean, it's the coolest thing, and I just feel so grateful. I'm literally getting chills thinking about it right now. You know, there's nothing like the start of a show on a Saturday, especially a Saturday night in one of the premier SEC venues. It's just so special. And I was talking to TJ Finley this morning. Today's Tuesday of game week. And I was asking him, he started before against Alabama. He spent some time in the SEC at Auburn and LSU. So I was like, okay, how are you prepared going into a game like this? And he said, I've been telling my guys to let the moment give you chills. Let the crowd give you chills. And I thought that was an interesting point by him to, you know, just take it all in. And as a reporter, that's what I would say I do is every single Saturday, I just try to remind myself how grateful I am to do this, and how many people would kill to be on the sideline at Alabama on a primetime ESPN game on Saturday night, because it's truly one of the coolest things I've ever experienced in my life. Those moments right before kick. So I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun. And I'm sure you're feeling the same type of emotion going into week one.
Yes, absolutely. You'll be on the sidelines, but in the booth, you'll have Dusty Dvorak as your analyst, and then Dave Pasch on play-by-play. What do you like about your crew and getting to work together with these guys this year?
Well, they're pros, and I've watched Dave and Dusty for so long, and for me, getting bigger games has always been a goal, and so to be on this crew and consistently get really good matchups, I just feel so grateful and fortunate, and then to work with them, like I remember talking to Katie George, and Katie got elevated pretty early in her career. And she was like, I remember working with Joe Tess for the first time, and Greg McElroy was her analyst that first year. And she's like, it just forces you to level up. When everybody around you is really good at what they do, you're forced to elevate yourself. And so I'm excited for the ways that, they'll teach me things this year, and hopefully I can just continue to grow as a reporter along with them, because they've set a really high standard in this industry, and I'm just so thankful that I get to be a part of this crew. It's going to be so much fun.
A lot of fun coming up on Saturday. And before we let you go, I did want to touch on baseball for a moment. As I mentioned, you work with Chicago Cubs with Marquee Sports Network, and SEC baseball has been on such a great run over this past decade. Alabama's getting ready to send a lot of guys to the major leagues, but every time you're in a major league clubhouse, now you're seeing recent SEC baseball players. Just what have you made of the rise of SEC baseball and the way it's now translating to Major League Baseball?
Yeah, so I was in college. I went to Arkansas. So Arkansas is an elite baseball program year in and year out. And so I, experienced it firsthand in college. But now what we're seeing in Major League Baseball is the game's getting younger and younger. So you're seeing these college baseball players make the transition to Major League Baseball faster, and at much younger ages. I'm in Pittsburgh right now. As the Cubs are facing Paul Skeens on Wednesday, the number 1 overall pick a year ago out of LSU. So Alabama fans certainly know him. College baseball fans know him. So it's been really fun to see. And I think what the SEC has done is it's given a really high level of baseball for these guys to grow, to make adjustments at as much as you possibly can before making the transition to pro ball. And I think scouts have really enjoyed it. I think we're seeing a lot more guys drafted out of college than we are high school, because they're just ready and they've experienced a lot. So I'm a huge fan of SEC baseball venues and just watching the sport grow overall. And there's been a ton of talent that's come out of it, which has been really fun.
Well, Taylor, best of luck to you and my Cubbies the rest of the week. We can't wait to have you here in Tuscaloosa on Saturday for Alabama against Western Kentucky. Just thank you for all the time you've given us on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, and safe travels.
Thanks for having me. It's going to be so fun to meet you, and cannot wait to be in Tuscaloosa on Saturday.
Crimson Drive is driven by NASCAR, and NASCAR's biggest and baddest track is back. Don't miss out on a weekend full of NASCAR playoffs action this fall. Racing returning to Talladega Superspeedway, October 4th through the 6th. Purchase your tickets today at TalladegaSuperspeedway.com.
Fun conversation with Taylor McGregor. There's another broadcast going on, of course, along with the Crimson Tide Sports Network, ESPN. Our friends at Western Kentucky are making the trip from Bowling Green, Kentucky to here at Alabama, are ready to go for Alabama against Western Kentucky on Saturday. Randy Lee is the longtime voice of the Hilltoppers. He has called all matchups in series history between Alabama and Western Kentucky, and he joins us now for a great breakdown of the Hilltoppers as we get set for Saturday.
Week 1 of the season, and it's Alabama against Western Kentucky. I'm Roger Hoover, now pleased to be joined by the voice of the Hilltoppers for Western Kentucky, Randy Lee, for the other booth. And the other booth is always brought to you by our friends at Marathon. Marathon knows that fans are the true co-pilot of any team. That's why Marathon is here to keep you and your team fueled, because we're driven together. Randy Lee, we look forward to visiting with you on Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium. But first of all, how excited are you for this start of the season with Western Kentucky and Alabama meeting up on Saturday?
Roger, nice to join you. A little different here. Tyson Helton is in his 6th season, and he's been able to establish an identity that was really, I think, set by Jeff Brom years ago, and Tyson was on that staff. It's a team that usually scores a lot of points, pass-oriented on offense, and plays at a fast pace. So and they have not won a conference title in recent years, but they've always competed for one, and they've been, a break or two here or there away from winning one. They've been able to win some, really high quality non-conference games, and it's been an exciting team to watch for a number of years.
Certainly has been, and that led to some success last season, going 8-5, winning a bowl game. Just what can you tell us about the journey of the 2023 Hilltoppers and who may be coming back from last year's team?
The 2024 team probably has more depth. The 2023 team was a little disappointed in regards to the offense wasn't quite as good as it was in 2022, and Austin Reed led all of college football in passing touchdowns. It took a little bit of a step back last year, still led the conference in most of the offensive statistics, but not quite up to the 2022 season. So this year, you have two new quarterbacks, and I think both are going to play this year. The transfer portal was something that WKU, I think, benefited from this year. They certainly lost their share, but they've also were able to fill in the secondary, wide receiver, and offensive line with some high-quality portal transfers. So going into the season, I think probably the team has more depth than they've had in a while at most positions, if not all. I don't know that they have the superstar marquee player that they've had in recent years with Malachi Cordy. He was a second-round pick for the Jets at wide receiver a year ago, and Austin Reed and Bailey Zappi and all those guys set all those college football records offensively. But the team has more depth at just about every position. And, we're not picked to win Conference USA. Liberty, hands down, is the favorite. But after that, WKU is second in line, at least on paper.
What makes this offense so prolific and really hard to defend?
It usually starts at the quarterback position. And as of today, now things could change, but as of today, there are three quarterbacks in the NFL that played here. And it's a offense that when Bailey Zappi was here, he broke all of college football single season records. And then when he left, Austin Reed won the job. Austin Reed set the single season high for touchdowns and passing yards. So it really starts, I think, with a quarterback. We've been blessed to have very good quarterbacks, maybe not at the Alabama level, but these quarterbacks have been very good, and it usually starts there. It's a team that primarily is a pass-oriented team, and we give up probably more points defensively than you would anticipate from a pretty good defense, but normally our offense scores so quickly, the defense is on the field and faces a lot of offensive snaps during the course of a game. But it usually starts at that quarterback spot, and in past years we've been blessed with a lot of depth and talent at wide receiver and also at tight end.
Certainly have an experienced starting quarterback for this week against Alabama. You mentioned both quarterbacks should play, but what can you tell us about TJ Finley, what he may have done the last few weeks to earn this starting nod, as he'll be facing Alabama with now a third different team in his career?
Well, Tyson told me that it was a coin flip between TJ and Caden starting. TJ probably does have more big game experience than Caden. Caden Veldkamp was a backup last year who rarely played. And then due to the starting quarterback, Austin Reed, deciding not to play in the bowl game, the backup was actually another quarterback, and he did not fare too well in the first quarter. So Caden Veldkamp, who had entered the portal a couple of weeks prior to the bowl game because he was asked to consider moving to tight end and didn't want to play tight end, he came in and had one of the greatest bowl performance probably of any Hilltopper quarterback ever, 380-some yards passing, 5 touchdowns and about 80 yards rushing, leading the team from a 28-0 deficit to the victory. So Veldkamp has really stepped up his game, very athletic, 6'6", 236, but doesn't have the experience as TJ. I do feel like both will play in this game, but Finley earns the right to go out there. He had a great year at Texas State last season, and of course, we all know he was at LSU and Auburn as well. So, they're about the same kind of quarterback. They're big, they're tall, they're rangy. Caden runs a little bit better. TJ probably throws a better deep ball than Caden.
Who are some of the skill players on offense that can help these quarterbacks out, especially in a game like this against Alabama?
I think it all starts with Dalvin Smith. Dalvin has had injury-plagued seasons. He has been terrific in bowl games. Dalvin is back for his 5th year on the hill. He's a 6'2", 190-pound wide receiver who can do a little bit of everything. You can line him up at tight end, flank him out. He's been known to throw touchdown passes on jet sweeps. He's a jack of all trades. Michael Matheson is a young man from Covington, Georgia, who was very good in 2022. Last year missed the entire season because of a hip injury. He's back. He'll be a big key at that wide receiver spot. Blessed to have a tight end from little old Lester, Alabama, up on the border near Tennessee, about 800 strong there in Lester. River Helms has been injured, but he's a high-quality tight end. He's healthy right now. He's had an injury-plagued career, but WKU's been blessed to have some fantastic tight ends, and I feel like he can certainly be one of those. The running back room is deep. They've got last year's starter Elijah Young, LT Sanders, who is from just outside of Birmingham, is his backup. He has had some big games in his career, and also George Hart has emerged, portal transfer from Arizona State. He's sort of the in-between the tackles runner, new player on the football team. So now we have some speed in Young and Sanders on the outside, and Hart's more of your banger up the middle, who does do a good job at catching passes coming out of the backfield. So those are really the marquee skilled people, with one more, Keyshawn Johnson. Keyshawn put up big numbers at Alabama State University. He has opened up some eyes here in camp. So Keyshawn Johnson is going to be a focal point to this offense as well.
So that's the Hilltoppers on offense. How about on defense? What's the personality there? Who are some of the big stars?
I've been here since 2007, broadcasting WKU Sports, and this, I think, is our best group of corners that we've had in my tenure here. It all starts with Upton Stout. Upton was injured for about half of the season last year, which greatly hurt this defense. Stout is a high-quality defensive back. He was a number 1 rated portal player at his position last year. He went into the portal right before the bowl game. Then about a week or two after the bowl game, decided to come back. He is a very good corner and also nickel back. Anthony Johnson is another highly rated corner. In fact, on the video game that everyone now watches, he is the number 1 rated Hilltopper in that video game. And then there's a new player that's really emerging, Nazir Ward, big, lanky sophomore corner out of Miami. So you've got Stout, Johnson, and Ward, 3 fabulous corners. Linebacking has been down in recent years. They really like the portal transfer, Chandler Matthews, who's moved in from a Division III school, actually, to start in the middle. And then up front, really no marquee defensive linemen, but a lot of depth. You'll probably see 10 to 11 defensive linemen that will play. Hosea Wheeler, who was defensive end, was a second-team pick a year ago. He's probably the highlighted one. Deontay McCray was a freshman who was had a great freshman season last year. I look for him to have a big sophomore season as well.
Obviously, the goal for Western Kentucky is to come to Tuscaloosa and get a win, but really, regardless of the final score, what would be some small victories that the Toppers can gain in this game that'll help them moving forward, especially getting into Conference USA?
Well, I think they have a lot of competition. I mentioned the depth that this team has, and right now they don't really know who's going to step up and be the starters, like in the offensive line. They plan on playing maybe 10 offensive linemen in the game against Alabama, quite frankly, because there's so little separation in most of the starters compared to the backups. So it's going to be an opportunity for them to see under fire who's going to step up and play, because many of these offensive linemen have not played here before. Tick Leslie, left guard, been here for 4 years. He's really the only one who's been here for more than a couple of years. So a lot of new faces in that offensive line, or players who did not play a lot until this year. They like them as an entire unit, but I think they're just trying to look to see who's going to step up and be that unit and be that particular player. So I think WK is going to play a lot of different players at all the positions because they have a lot of answers, a lot of questions, a lot of answers to some questions as to who the best players are at. But the good thing is a lot of depth. You might see anywhere from 8 to 10 different players in the secondary as well. They like their depth. They're just trying to see who's going to emerge.
Fascinating game 1 between Alabama and Western Kentucky coming up on Saturday. Randy Lee, the voice of the Hilltoppers, just thank you for all the time you've given us. Safe travels here to Alabama. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Roger. We're looking forward to it too.
Hey guys, this is Jalen Milroe, and you're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
wanted to show you this Alabama Yeti. It's black. It's got the baseball scripts in metallic Alabama across the front. You can only purchase this. This is an exclusive that you can find at Champions Lane, Vector Security Champions Lane, throughout Alabama's home games this season. So make sure you check it out. Last year we sold Yetis like this at Champions Lane, and they went very, very quickly. So make sure, especially with that baseball script, you get that and you're ready to go for the upcoming season.
Saturday is almost here. Alabama against Western Kentucky in the 2024 season opener, but it's only Thursday right now as we get ready for game day. Let's take a look at our upcoming schedule as we get you prepared for the Crimson Tide and the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Coming up tomorrow, there will be a new edition of Tide TV this week, taking a look at Crimson Tide Athletics, available on the Alabama Athletics YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out. And then coming up on Saturday, of course, it's game day, 6 p.m. the kickoff. 3 o'clock, we'll start our coverage outside Bryant-Denny Stadium at Vector Security Champions Lane. Hope to see all of you there. On Sunday, Chris Stewart will break down the ball game with the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Jalen DeBoer, for the first game episode of the Jalen DeBoer television show, available to watch to our TV affiliates all across the state and on demand as well on the Alabama Athletics social media platforms. Monday night, it may be Labor Day, but we're going to have a great time coming up. It's our own version of a Labor Day party coming up at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. Crimson Tide Rewind is back. 6 p.m. will be the start time in the Birmingham area. We'd love to see you join us. Corey Reamer will be there, former Crimson Tide linebacker, and he'll break it down with me, and we look forward to having a great time then, leading right up to September 3rd with a new edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We'll take a look back at the Western Kentucky game, and then we'll look ahead to what's coming up for Alabama against USF. That's a look at our upcoming schedule. And that's going to wrap up this first really game day Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Just huge thank you to all the guests we've had, starting with Tim Smith, Damion Square, Taylor McGregor, Randy Lee. All these people are extremely busy getting ready for game day. Appreciate that they spent some time with us this week here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Thank you to Ethan Carabin, our video producer, put together this entire show. And thanks to all of you for watching as well. As we start to wrap up this edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, no better way to say goodbye and say Roll Tide. You know, I love saying Roll Tide, but no one says it quite as well as Jalen Milroe. And he joined Jalen DeBoer, Chris Stewart last night for the final word on the Hey Coach and the Jalen DeBoer show. So it's only fitting we say goodbye on this Thursday with the final word of the night being from Jalen DeBoer and Jalen Milroe.
Just excited. It's time's finally come, and excited to watch a guy like this who pours everything into it every single day get a chance to go out there and do what they love. And that's from a coaching standpoint. That's what this is about, and of course bringing the excitement to the fans and the fans vice versa. Looking forward to an energy-packed stadium, and we'll do everything we can. I know this guy will be out there making his plays.
During the commercial break, he asked if he got the final word. Can we give him one as well?
Absolutely.
All right, what you got for us? What you got for the crowd?
I'd just like to, to tell everyone, we're super excited for the season. A lot of energy, a lot of heart, a lot of passion have been poured into this offseason. We're super excited to now pour in all of the hard work that we've done into the season. And most importantly, we're playing for the fans. So to have everybody come out for the fans, I want them to bring the energy. We're going to bring our best performance. And most importantly, Roll Tide.
I thought we might get that. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Coach, appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
He's got a special Roll Tide, doesn't he?
He does, indeed. We like it, and that giggle ain't bad either. Coach, thank you so much. Again, the final word presented by Mercedes-Benz, Jalen Milroe, and Coach Jalen DeBoer.